What is happening, everybody? Welcome inside the PPA podcast studio. I'm Dave Fleming, and what a guest I have today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my man, John Isner.
Thanks for having me, Super Dave.
John, so happy to have you here, and what a week for you. It is CIBC Texas Open Pickleball Week, and you are jumping into the 20 by 44. Where on earth did this come?
Well, luckily I live local, so it's not that far of a drive. A friend of mine, Wyatt Stone, as a lot of you guys know, asked me to play, and I said, heck yeah, let's do this. It'll be a lot of fun. See what we can do on Saturday. It's when it all starts up for me.
It sure does. So what are the expectations here?
Look, they're not great, I would say. I mean, I'm handy on the court. I do think of everyone in the men's pro draw, doubles draw, I probably am one of the worst players, but I have a good partner. You know, look, when you play a lot of tennis, any sort of racket sport, it becomes somewhat natural to you, and it has to me a little bit. Unfortunately, I can't serve overhand.
Yeah.
That was my big advantage in tennis, of course. But we'll see what I can do come Saturday.
So we always love to know the origin story of when did you start playing pickleball? Like, people want to know, like, are you just one of these tennis guys that's hit a pickleball 2 times and then you're going out here? That's not the case.
No, that's not the case. Look, I don't practice that much, but look, I've played sparingly over the last 4 or 5 years. I really enjoy the game. As I said, I don't think I'm that great at it. I don't think I'm going to embarrass myself either. But in the past, when I have played in big matches, I played in Vegas on TV and the Tennis Channel. Like, I was very, very nervous out there. So I expect to be nervy come Saturday as well. Hopefully it doesn't affect me too much.
Yeah, and don't sleep on this guy. I've been on the court with him. He can play. He can play.
I have my moments.
So what from tennis is working for you on the pickleball court, and what isn't? Obviously, you mentioned the serve, but that's just an obvious rule.
Yes. So the serve does not translate to pickleball, unfortunately. I think the touch, I think for my size, I think I had pretty good touch around the net in tennis, and I think that helps especially on thirds. I wouldn't say I'm much of a third ball drive guy. I'm more of a dink and try to get into the point that way. So I think the touch, especially at net, like the drop volleys in tennis, are kind of pretty similar to the thirds in pickleball. So hopefully that can translate pretty well on Saturday. I mean, look, my highs are pretty high in pickleball. My lows are pretty low. So hopefully I can, at the very least, find a happy medium between those two. And you know, as I said, see what Wyatt and I can do.
Yeah, let's limit the roller coaster ride
exactly
here and go from there. What have you seen from a player of your height? Obviously, you're every bit 6'10", 6'11".
Every bit, yeah.
And so there are advantages. There's a lot of tall people that are watching. What have you found that, like, oh, man, this really helps me, and, man, this makes life difficult for pickleball?
I would say being as tall as I am is more of a detriment than an advantage in pickleball. I think the inflection point is probably around 6'5". Any taller than 6'5", I think it makes it very difficult on the pickleball court. Of course, the reach helps a lot when you're at the net, but when you're playing against really advanced, extremely talented players that know how to body you up, that's when it's really tough for me. When I'm 7-8 feet away from my opponent and they can body me up with a speed up right into my chest, that's very, very hard for me. Something that I need to get better on in the next few days, because I expect to get attacked in that fashion. But, you know, so I think that's the most difficult part. The reach, of course, is no issue for someone of my size, but having such long arms, getting out of the way of those balls into my body is pretty difficult.
Yeah, there's a lot of Big John to hit. And
that's right.
That's right. And with your name, obviously your draw has come out. You're going to play qualifier, so we don't even know who you're going to play on Saturday. You're not a secret as to who you are. So do you think that's an advantage for you to be going out there, and you're going to have some nervy tennis players on the other side potentially?
Potentially, yes. But, you know, anytime back when I was playing on the ATP Tour, when you play a qualifier, it's not that easy because they're coming in feeling pretty good, having won a couple matches under their belt. So that's what we're going to be up against in our first round. I don't necessarily think it's a great draw. Maybe there could be worse draws out there for sure, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be my first real live PPA match experience try to get on the board with some PPA points. See what I can do.
Let's see if we can get a dub there.
That's right.
You know, we got the big man's going to be on center, so I look.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't think I deserve center. I should be on court 22, but center court with Dave Fleming on the call. That's the dream.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
So a lot of your peers have come over from tennis to pickleball. You and Jack Sock won major championships in tennis. What have you seen from Jack that's surprised you, and where do you think he can go here from your tennis perspective?
Well, nothing has surprised me. He is a human highlight reel on the pickleball court. Anyone that opens up their Instagram feed and pickleball pops up on the search bar, it's always Jack pulling off something ridiculous. So that's what he did in tennis. I was a beneficiary of that, being his doubles partner for a very, very long time. It was more just sort of know my role, hit big serves, try not to screw it up at the net, make a return here or there, and let Jack do the rest. So he's just so athletic and so electric on the court, and especially on the smaller pickleball court. He's just so quick from point A to point B. He's a lot of fun to watch. I think he's been a huge, huge boon for the PPA and the sport of pickleball.
No doubt. I call him the greatest showman. I mean, he is our Hugh Jackman without question.
That's right.
For what you said. Then we've had others. We've had Donald Young in there. Jeannie Bouchard's getting better. Do you think this will be a thing for players that are either on the tail end of their career or in the 200, 300, 400s and can't quite get over the hill in tennis?
A little too early to say if that's going to be the case for players on the tail end of their career. Yes, we've seen that with Donald, Sam, and Jack, but maybe not so much after that. I mean, I know you got the Johnson twins that played a very, very high level college tennis and pro tennis, that on the doubles court, and they're doing very, very well on the pickleball court. So it definitely does translate. You know, Sam Querrey was the trailblazer, and then Donald and Jack and Jeannie have followed after him. And we're talking about players that have had very good professional tennis careers. So we'll see what that looks like. You know, I don't necessarily think pickleball is a sport that, you know, you can have a lot of success in. There's a couple players in their 40s, but it's a young man's game. And these players out there, especially on the singles court, which I want no part of, they're very, very tough and very athletic. So it's a young man's game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I think that's the biggest myth that every week you go out there. It's like, okay, yes, this started at a older level, certainly, to get the masses involved. What's your take? There's, you know, I played tennis since I was 5, obviously not anywhere near your level, but I'm a tennis and pickleball guy together. There's a lot of pushing and shoving on that. What's your take on all that?
No, I think that's silly. It makes for, I guess, good conversation in the Twitter world. We saw that a few months ago. Look, I think there's certainly room for both. I'm a fan, of course, of tennis. I like pickleball. Tennis is always going to be my first love. I'm going to prefer tennis over pickleball every single day of the week. But I think there's a lot of room for both these incredible sports. And, you know, people need to embrace pickleball on the tennis side. The tennis purists, which I'm not, I think they need to embrace pickleball a little bit more. I think if you merge these two together, which we're seeing a little bit, can only be a good thing.
So this must be an interesting week for you. Obviously retired at the end of last year. French Open is starting. What's the emotions in your mind and your body here as you look over to Paris and you're going to be playing pickleball this week?
Yeah, that's right. I told my buddy the other day, like last year I was in Paris playing the French Open, and fast forward a year later, I'm in Rockwall, Texas playing pickleball. So it's a little bit different for sure. I mean, I think I played 17 French Opens, so never missed. I think I missed it one time, so maybe 16 French Opens. It's bittersweet not being over there right now. Of course, I think my body appreciates not being over there, but I'm a competitor. I certainly miss playing tennis, but I had a long career. I mean, I played till I was 38 and a half. I can't really complain about that. I outlasted a lot of my contemporaries, but at the same time, you still miss it, especially when those big events roll around. The Australian Open, Indian Wells, Miami, French Open. I mean, the Grand Slams in tennis are the pinnacle of our sport. They're so much fun to compete in. The atmosphere, let alone on the match court. You go to a practice court, you have 200 people watching you practice. It was just crazy. I certainly miss that atmosphere, and I miss being in Paris, France. I mean, the place is amazing. So I had an incredible life playing professional tennis the last 17, 18 years, and I do miss it.
Yeah, and I mean, what do you view your legacy? Obviously, you are the number one. I don't think anyone's touching your serving record. I think you.
No,
have
I
it.
think that's.
I think you have it forever. Like
yeah.
it's you. That's unbelievable. But how do you specifically look at what you put out there over that very long and distinguished career?
Well, I appreciate that. I think I had a very solid career. I had a career that far exceeded my expectations when I left the University of Georgia. My goal was really when I left college, I think I wanted to make just a simple living out of playing tennis. I wanted to be able to cover my expenses playing tennis. I thought that's not such a bad lifestyle, and I far exceeded that. I played for a long time, and at a certain point, right around 2009, 2010, I hit a level top 20 in the world, and I stayed there for more than a decade. So I became, I think, a real professional, and it started at the beginning of my professional career, 2007, 8, 9. I knew what it took to take care of my body. I have such a big body. I was real diligent in the gym, on the practice court, and I loved every single morning waking up and doing that. And that's why I was able to play for so long and at a very consistent level. So, of course, I had that one match in 2010. Everyone remembers, and rightfully so. But I had a lot of, very, very good results and unbelievable memories over the last 17 years.
So, since you brought it up, pickleball fans who you may or may not be, tell us about the epic Wimbledon match that you're referring to, and give people just a snippet behind. I know you've talked about it a lot.
It was exactly 14 years ago. So it's amazing. It doesn't feel like 14 years ago. So look, those memories are still fresh in my head, even though I'd like to forget them. It wasn't that fun being a part of that match. We played for 3 days. The first day was normal. We ran out of daylight. That happens at Wimbledon. There's no lights on the outer courts. The second day was a crazy one. We had 7 hours to finish one set. We couldn't do it. Come back to third day, I was finally able to finish off the match. In the fifth set, a basketball game broke out on the tennis court, and I won 70-68 in the fifth set. 11 hours.
70-68, folks.
It's like a college hoops game, and a very close one at that. So it was crazy to be a part of. One of the things I remember is the World Cup was going on the exact same time, and our match was stealing headlines from the World Cup. That's how kind of a big of a deal. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but people at the tournament in the tennis world, really in the world in general.
Oh, no doubt. I was following along.
Yeah. So a lot of people remember that match. Now that it's been 14 years, even casual tennis fans or people that aren't tennis fans at all, like, oh, you're that guy. So I get that a lot for sure.
And you changed rules.
I did. I mean, it didn't happen right away. Right. I mean, I like to think I had, something to do with it. But 4 years ago, or maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, the rules at Wimbledon, really at all the Grand Slams changed. So they all play a tiebreaker. I think all the players appreciate that, because we saw a match at the French Open that was 5 hours and a half right when they got to the fifth set tiebreaker. I mean, I think both players are happy to be able
we're good.
Exactly. To be able to finish that match right then and there.
So you mentioned, I think it's very interesting being a professional, and there's no question that you epitomize that. What would you say to these pickleball pros that obviously we're just getting going? We're excited. We have Fox National on Sunday. We are elevating this sport. People like you give it credibility. What would you say to the aspiring pros, the ones that we've got, to take that to the next level and show what it takes to be a pro player?
Well, yeah, look, pickleball continues to grow. Everyone knows that. I have a lot of respect for the professional pickleball players out there. I think sometimes they can be maligned by the tennis purists, but look, it's players out there trying to make a living, and they're very, very talented, and you have to respect that. It's as simple as that. The sport is growing, and they're, kind of riding that wave with the sport of pickleball, and these players that we're seeing, and you guys do such a good job of bringing out their personalities. That's how you grow the game. That's how you get the pie bigger for the sport, for the tour, for the players. Everyone wins as the sport continues to grow. So it's real fun for me to be able to see. I'm very, very close to the sport. Living here in Dallas, where the headquarters are, and it's fun for me, I guess, to somewhat be on the ride.
So everyone wants to know what's next. I know. I've seen you on the mic. We love your commentary on tennis. What's next here for John Isner? Pro pickleball for Saturday.
I think it's going to end on Saturday. Well, I mean, this week. Championship Sunday would be amazing, but I don't like my chances there. This is probably a one and done for me on the pro pickleball scene. Maybe when this tournament rolls around next year, I don't see myself. I don't see myself traveling to do pro pickleball. I got a lot of young kids.
Yes, you do.
At home, so I was away from them, of course, a lot of the time when I was playing tennis. So I spend a lot of time with them, doing some TV, doing some help with the Dallas is the host of an ATP tennis tournament. Dave, you've been there before, so I do a lot of work with that tournament, try to grow that as much as we possibly can. So, I'm pretty busy now. Things have certainly slowed down professionally, and so adjusting to that has not been easy. I think I've been pretty open about that. When I did the same thing over and over and over again for 17 years, all of a sudden that's done. It's a big adjustment. So trying to work through that. I think, once I get maybe a year past retiring, it'll start to get easier. For a few months there, it really wasn't that easy. You miss the game and you wake up, you're like, what am I going to do today? Normally I'm practicing at 10 a.m. Now I'm not. So definitely an adjustment I'm trying to work through for sure.
You mentioned you've got 4 little Sparkies at home. Yep. Tennis, pickleball. How do you reconcile that as a pro athlete dad?
Yes.
What's the mentality, you and Maddie? What are you talking about?
Well, I will say this. Look, as I said earlier, tennis is my first love. So I'm going to definitely encourage my kids to play tennis. Now, having said that, I think pickleball is a great way at a young age, I'm about 4, 5, 6 years old, to develop tennis skills. Yeah. The ball doesn't bounce that high. As we know, I think pickleball is a great way, again, to develop a lot of very, very good tennis skills. So my kids will be on the pickleball court working on their strokes, working on their footwork, which I think will translate well for them as they get older and start playing tennis, or more and more tennis, I should say.
No doubt. Well, folks, how exciting is it to have my man, John Isner, playing this week at the CIBC Texas Open. Love having him in the PPA podcast studio. I'm Dave Fleming. Peace.